Get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This college football moment is brought to you by ServPro.
College football teams have moments they recovered from and made it like it never even happened. For instance, on September 21st, 2019, UCLA trailed Washington State 49-17 with under 7 minutes left in the third quarter. From that point forward, the Bruins erased that 32-point deficit, outscoring the Cougars 50-14 to win 67-63.
ServPro, like it never even happened.
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the
type. No way.
No way.
No way.
No way. My kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
What does it mean to be a part of the Southeastern Conference? That you paint your body, your car, and your dog your school colors? Maybe. But it means more than that. It means your alumni network includes the state, the country, and beyond. It means your school ring doubles as your resume. And yeah, you better believe it means more titles, like doctor, CEO, and your honor. Because this is the SEC. And here, it just means more. What does it mean to be part of the Southeastern Conference? That yours is the only conference with its own chant? Well, yes, but it means more than that. It means a study abroad program that might include reforestation in a mangrove swamp in Australia. It means finding your calling, your future spouse, your startup's co-founders, and of course, grilling tongs that play your fight song. This is the SEC. And here,
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Ed Benkin. 7 early NFL games are an hour away from kickoff. One quarterback is in, another is out. Despite dealing with a high ankle sprain, Justin Herbert is active for the Chargers and will play against the Steelers. In Nashville, the Titans won't face Jordan Love when they battle the Packers. He is inactive for the second straight week. Former Titan Malik Willis gets the start for Green Bay this afternoon. Meanwhile, Tennessee running back Tajay Spears is active today. Colts receiver Michael Pittman is active for his team's home game with the Bears. Also active today is Eagles safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He will play against the Saints today in New Orleans. On Football Sunday on select ESPN radio affiliates, we have the Texans and the Vikings. Later today at 4 Eastern, it's the Dolphins and the Seahawks. As the Seahawks get ready to face a Miami team without quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Alan Love, the safety for the Seahawks, says it's time to adjust to Skylar Thompson.
Going to this game, you kind of have just to be prepared for anything because you don't know what to expect with this new guy under center. The timing might be a little different for certain things. They might run certain plays, certain packages more.
Love of the Seahawks are a 6.5-point favorite on ESPN Bet. Baseball tonight on ESPN Radio. It's the Phillies and the Mets from New York, Philadelphia trying to wrap up the NL East. New York trying to stay 2 ahead of Atlanta in the wildcard race. The Braves will play later today against the Marlins. WNBA, A'ja Wilson wins the league's MVP award. 4 playoff series tip-off today. 3 of the 4 on ESPN, 1 on ABC as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever play at Connecticut. They'll tip off at 3 Eastern.
Hi, this is Evan Cohen. Join us Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern for Unsportsmanlike. Colorado uses a Hail Mary to end up winning a game in overtime. They have 2 Heisman candidates. Dion has this program rolling, and they're not playing good teams. We'll discuss Monday, 6 a.m. Eastern on Sportsmanlike on ESPN Radio.
97.7 ESPN The Zone. It's time for the Bama Recap Show, presented by Lawlers Barbecue. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Drew DeArmond and Steve Moulton.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Now throw down sideline 101. Harrison's got it. Goodbye. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
Yep. Austin Simmons is going to hand it off, and that's going to be Rashad Amos as he runs through the line to the 36-yard line, gains 5, and the clock will run out. 1 second, 0. Ole Miss is 4-0. The 5th-ranked Rebels have been dominant in all 4 non-conference games here, finishing tonight with a 52-13 win.
The Texas Longhorns.
First and goal at the Warhawk 3-yard line. Manning with the snap, turns hands to Jared Gibson off right side, plows into the end zone. Touchdown, Texas. Jared Gibson with his 3rd touchdown of his freshman campaign.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
That's pickup of 16. They go quick again. They hand off to Sampson again. He fights his way close. Not in. He gave him a touchdown. He gave it to him. Saw where the ball was. Touchdown. Dylan Sampson just fought his way into the end zone.
The Missouri Tigers.
Low snap, good place. Kick is up, and it is no good. Missouri wins in 2 OTs. He missed it wide left, and Missouri survives.
Oh, my goodness. Who would have ever guessed? Certainly not me.
Taylor good 3 times today from 27, 57, and 50, but he misses from 31. Wide left in the second overtime, and Mizzou goes to 4-0 with a 30-27 victory over Vanderbilt in 2 overtimes.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Trips right for Jalen Green. He gets the snap, looks to throw. 4-man rush. Green spins away, still looking. He's going to heave it downfield. He's got a man open. It is caught. Touchdown, Arkansas. Isaiah Satania. Isaiah Satania, 56 yards and a score.
The Texas A&M Aggies.
Daniels to the left of Reed. 2 tight ends on each side. Play action fake to Amari. Slung to the end zone. Touchdown, Aggies. Ja'Day Walker.
The Florida Gators.
Graham Mertz throws, got it, tight end at the 15, broken tackle, the 8, into the end zone. Touchdown, Gators. Hayden Hansen.
As you can tell, we've got a lot to sift through with welcome into the Bama Recap Show. Although Bama did not play, there is still a lot, and I mean a lot, to dissect. Both Georgia and Alabama enjoyed bye weeks. And good morning, Drew DeArmond.
Good morning, Steve. Yeesh. I mean, all I can tell you is the SEC is top heavy, okay? And I'm talking about maybe 5 teams now, because if Missouri is a playoff team.
I was about to say, where's Missouri in this list?
Yeah, I've still got them in the top 7.
They're still undefeated.
But again, if
they're still undefeated.
If they're a playoff team, then Lane Kiffin never had affairs, okay? I mean, he was celibate then. But, I mean, I just don't – look, Vandy had that game.
They did.
They had, I mean, and then they get conservative. Coaches drive me crazy. The quarterback Pavia pops a run that you don't expect.
Yes.
They're at the 12.
Yes.
And then we got to run him again. No. You roll the pocket and you throw the football, you morons.
They did it on that next drive they rolled the
pocket. They did it backwards, though.
That was after the sack and the overtime. That's what I'm thinking.
No. What is even a sack, Steve? Here's what happened. They tried it. On first down, it was a loss. Mm-hmm. And then they tried to throw, that fade route into the end zone.
It was a penalty.
And it was an offensive interference, which was a good call.
Yeah, it was.
We've been hard on the refs. It was a good call.
Yeah.
And they backed him up. And then you're right. He created space. And then they got it back to about basically the original line of scrimmage. But I'm sorry,
the 11-yard line, yeah.
Look, you had it first down at the 12.
Yeah.
What you got to do is roll the pocket and let him throw the football and not throw some quick screen because he's 6 feet tall, they're going to deflect. You got to move the pocket. I see it happen all the time.
Yeah.
They got an upset, they got a chance, but then they get scared like, oh, well, we better do something conservative or just run the same play over
Pucker
again.
factor. Like
my man from Detroit, Pucker. It's one of the greatest radio montages for 30 minutes in history from 2006. Notre Dame and Michigan State. Pucker. And that's what these coaches do. They pucker.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they look. I know Kill beat Auburn last year with Pavia.
That's right.
But I just didn't think Missouri was going to allow him to run the football after they got to the 12. They were going to pack things in.
I thought it was the perfect storm because I have seen Vanderbilt perform better defensively, and they played sloppy at Georgia State, especially defensively. Thought that was going to tighten up. And it's a case where,
and again, it might not have worked, but I didn't like the fade. I was like, that's not the kind of play call you need. It's low percentage. Yeah. You're trying to say, oh, just throw it where only our receiver can get to it.
Which I understand.
Look, I'm sorry. You've already lost to Georgia State, okay?
Yeah.
So you've got nothing to lose. Let it rip and stop being conservative. You let your ass get tight, and then you don't call what you should. And I know personally I'm going to hear, well, you're not a coach. You've never coached it. I guarantee you I would not have called those two plays they called. Yeah. I guarantee it. I would have moved my damn quarterback and let him throw the football. Because, again, I'm at Vanderbilt. I know where I'm at.
Yeah.
I don't understand why these coaches do this. Look, if they're going to fire you, you're going to get millions of dollars to go away anyway. Let it rip. I don't understand it. I just don't. Maybe Pavia would have thrown a pick. I don't know. Maybe a guy would have dropped the football. But I just don't think you gave your kids the best chance to win there. I think the coaches are aware of that. That was pitiful.
So the morning began with the Florida Gators and the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
That was horrendous football, Steve.
That was on
horrendous.
That was on Big Boy ESPN too.
I was texting with a couple of Florida buddies.
I was wondering why they didn't put that on ESPN Plus, but it was on Big Boy ESPN.
I'm not going to name him because I love him, but I mean I'm gonna tell you what he told me.
Yeah,
I said, guys, this is horrendous football. I mean,
it was tough to watch.
I was like, and I said these defenses, and the response I got from one of them was, I picked this kind of game in my picks column, and he's like, unfortunately, this is the two worst teams in the SEC.
And Sharpen's done.
And then
he's done.
And then he's like, man, I can't. He goes, I cannot believe how far Florida's fallen. He goes, it's just really, really bad. And I didn't even know. So Shapen is done.
Shapen. I'm sorry, I said Sharpen.
I mean, I knew he went out.
Yeah, he's done for the year.
So what was the injury?
I believe I heard something about an ACL.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. I mean, because he was walking. So I mean, I knew he got knocked around because they were running him like so much.
Yeah.
I mean, and to me, he's not even as good a runner. And we're going to talk about this as Peyton Thorne. And I didn't understand why. Look, I'm sorry, but the early returns on Lebby don't look great to me. I think, they keep giving these offensive gurus these head coaching jobs. And I just, and again, Mississippi State
he does need time to bring in his
guys. But he's also had trouble running the football. And I guess he thought Shapen gave him the best chance to do that.
Yeah.
And let's not be, Florida's on a train wreck off defensively. And
a much needed win.
They threw the ball well.
Much needed win.
And I mean, and Mertz played well.
He did. Although the quarterback rotation, it felt like every time Graham was getting into a rhythm, DJ would come in.
I know.
It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but nonetheless, a win's a win there for the Florida Gators. A much needed win. Now they are heading into a bye week to get ready for Central Florida.
I didn't look at the final stats till now. I mean, I was watching the game, but but 26 of 28 passing for Florida for 277.
Yeah.
You can talk about the rotation, but the production was there.
DJ was perfect, 7 for 7. But the times that he came in, it just felt forced. It wasn't anyway, to me. Again, that's just an outside observation. 503 total yards for Florida. Offensively, 480 for Mississippi State.
I'm listening to Dusty Dvorak try to describe Mississippi State's defense.
No, that was pretty good.
And I texted a couple people. I said they got Hutzlered. I was like,
good.
Yeah.
I like that.
I was like, yeah.
I like that
He's the worst defensive coordinator in college football. Let's just call it what it is.
So
he's awful. he will be fired at the end of the season.
Yesterday afternoon, we saw Arkansas at Auburn. Auburn does lead the nation in one thing: turnovers. 14 think about this, 14 turnovers for the Auburn Tigers. And I think we can right now put to bed the whole quarterback controversy thing. It's got
to be Thorne, because look, Holden Garner, if he's not better than those two, it's not him.
Yeah.
Walker White is not ready. It's got to be Thorne just because of his legs.
Yeah.
Because to me, Hank Brown can't move well enough, and that was just horrendous.
That was
yesterday.
tough to watch.
I mean, that was. Now I know that they were complaining about one of the maybe one of the interceptions wasn't an interception. I thought it was myself.
I did too. Yeah.
And then
the one that was close.
And then
to the
close
ground,
one on the goal line where did he get in or did
he got
not?
in?
I thought he got in.
I thought he got in.
But would Auburn have stopped him on the next play? In my opinion, I very seriously doubt it. So the thing about it is Auburn was their own worst enemy. Their defense wore down. But
so every time I want to analyze Auburn, keep in mind 14 turnovers through 4 games.
Oh, they're leading the nation. They can't stop turning the and think about it. They're about to go into the end zone, and then Kamari Alston fumbles the football, cutting back.
A great individual effort.
I thought he was about to score. I was like, well, he cut back. He's about to score, and then he fumbles it through the end zone, and it's recovered in the end zone by Arkansas. And I'm like, good Lord. And then on the touchdown they gave up in the second half, it was 3rd and 19.
That's right.
He just threw it up because, he did see the receiver, but he threw it late.
That was a punt, basically.
But I will say he does have one hell of an arm because good grief.
He wasn't even set when he threw that ball.
And the Auburn DB who somehow let him get, I think it was Keontae Scott, let him get behind him, but he was able to recover, but still couldn't keep Satania from catching the football. And I just kind of – and I'll give Arkansas credit for their coaching and for Bobby Petrino.
Yeah.
At least when Auburn – when Auburn hit that 4th down and 2 and went to the house from like 68 yards when Thorne got his touchdown pass, I thought to myself, man, I was like, Auburn's going to win this game 21-17 because I figured that Arkansas would get conservative or wouldn't execute properly and they would punt it back to Auburn. And then basically, you know how football is. You just need one drive.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Auburn can put together one drive and win this game. They just scored on like 4th and 3. But I'll give Arkansas credit. They hit a couple of throws, but they ran the football. And then Auburn couldn't tackle Taylon Green. He had 80 yards rushing. He was able to get outside, convert some 3rd downs. And like I said, man, I just thought besides Keandre Lambert-Smith, nobody did anything. Well, Fairweather caught a few, but where is Cam Coleman?
One popped right off of his mitts that turned into an interception. Yeah.
And then he's holding his shoulder and stuff like that. And he's not even in the game, when it matters. That's not impressing me, especially when I know how much NIL money
he was
costs.
Targeted 7 times, caught 2 balls.
He's got to be better than that because they hyped him up as wide receiver.
Oh, I'm sorry.
1.
Targeted 4 times, caught 2 balls.
I just don't get it. Like, where is he? Like, Malcolm Simmons is doing more than he's doing. Like, show a little toughness and get your ass out there and play football.
Simmons, 5 receptions, 44 yards. He was targeted 6 times. Yeah,
I'm just like, man, you're they're paying you a lot of money because again, like I've said,
I really thought we would see more out of Jeremiah Cobb. I really thought we were going to see more.
He's done a nice job returning, but the thing is, they've built a running game around the other 2 guys. Even though Austin fumbled the football. And he had 3 carries, but I don't think he carried it after he fumbled it. But they only got 12 carries to Jarquez Hunter, which was a little surprising. Yeah. But I will say part of the reason, though, is Auburn was trailing the entire game.
Turnovers.
They kept turning the ball over.
Turnovers.
And Arkansas kicked that field goal to get up 10. And pretty much Auburn, they didn't abandon the running game, but you've got to throw the football. And they allowed Peyton Thorne to do that. But to be honest with you, I thought it was another reason I thought Arkansas was going to lose the game on the big play.
Well, it's a classic Arkansas.
The touchdown to Keandre Lambert-Smith. Yeah. Why are you gambling if you're the safety and on that play and then just keep him in front of you? If they get the first down, so what?
Yeah.
But don't give up a 68-yard play. They haven't been able to score all game. And I'm like, that is just stupid. And once they gave Auburn a touchdown, I thought this game is still right there for Auburn to take. And, I had picked Auburn on the last play. I picked 27-24. So I thought it's going to be a similar game to that. I thought Auburn was going to come back and find a way to win it. And now their season's on the brink.
Oh, yeah.
Because
this is 2-2, all home games.
Yeah.
And now Oklahoma's coming into town. We'll get to the Sooners here in a second. But one thing that I am getting a little tired of is Hugh Freeze press conferences.
Did you see Bo Wallace? He certainly was tired of it. I mean, if you
Coach Hank got his second collegiate start today, struggled for the time that he was in there. Was there any doubt that he was not going to be the starter this week? And then what'd you see from Peyton later on in the game that takes you to next week?
I thought he deserved and earned the right to have the start, and I was anxious to see how he performed in SEC play, and love Hank. And, I want to say this now. I'm big on our players knowing that they're not defined by performance as an individual. That's a bad precedence for me. Man, they're loved as individuals and cared for, but this is a performance-based business for me, and I get judged on that. They get judged on that, and he did not play well in the first half and missed open guys and obviously threw the ball into coverage, and we're in red zone again and double clutches one and kind of floats it over the middle. And so obviously we're not doing a very good job coaching quarterbacks right now. And
pretty clear.
I thought Peyton's was pretty solid.
I thought so too.
Thought it was pretty solid. I thought, he had one off of hand again that was picked, but
catch the ball.
It was the right read, and I'll have to see how hard the catch was. I'm not real
sure. It wasn't.
He went right through his hands.
Anyway, And by the way, Champ Anthony.
Oh, that was awful.
That was tough to watch.
I mean, that was a huge legal hit.
Yeah, it was
that he put up 2 or 3 plays before.
Yeah, that's right.
And then to go down like that, and he's really been playing well. He's kind of been their surprise of camp and early season. He was taking on a leadership role. He had really kind of taken the bull by the horns in one of the corner spots, and he was allowing Keandre Scott to in many cases to move back to his natural nickel spotting at times, and
now
it was just bad.
I did see the immediate response from Jake Crane, who kind of spoke a little bit of the tough truth, but at the same time, I am going to say it's harder to evaluate Auburn right now because of the turnovers. 14. You tell me a team that even has 2 wins with 14 turnovers through 4 games.
Well, what I'm going to say is Hugh Freeze made a mistake. He should have gone and got a quarterback.
His
arrogance is what's killing Auburn right now, because he feels like he can coach guys up. And that's why I retweeted what Bo Wallace posted. I just sent that to you last night. And Bo Wallace basically said that that's all Hugh's ever done is basically throw all his quarterbacks under the bus.
Yeah.
And it's never his fault when they lose, but it's always I when they win. And so to me, I mean, that's where they made a mistake. I think they've upgraded their talent level. Keandre Lambert-Smith is certainly a good player. I mean, he put up 156 yards and a couple of touchdowns yesterday. He was Auburn's offense, basically. I think Jarquez Hunter's a good player, even though he didn't recruit him. Those freshman receivers, like Malcolm Simmons, he looks like he's going to be a good player. But the funny thing is, I think Uno caught one late. We haven't seen too much of Uno. We haven't seen, too much of Cam Coleman, not as much as I would have thought. Robert Lewis a little bit, but again,
I would like to believe we're not being told the whole story about Cam.
Well, I think
I'd like to believe.
I still blame it mostly on the quarterbacks and their lack of execution, which was what Hugh's doing. But that's on Hugh because, look, you got Peyton Thorne last year, and you flipped Tank Brown. They're your guys. Now, he did not recruit Holden Garner, but he did recruit Walker White. 3 of these 4 quarterbacks in the room were recruited by him, and he went on the record and said last year the quarterback was too expensive. He didn't want to go
$1 million.
He didn't want to go get Cam Ward.
Yeah,
look where Miami's at. I mean, my man Mark from Spring Hill tried to tell you, dog.
Percy.
I mean, they weren't gonna. They hung in there for a half.
They had the lead in the second quarter,
which I thought they could do, but I just didn't think they would have enough to finish against Miami.
Yeah,
And but he did get Arkansas right. So, I mean, he picked Arkansas. So, I mean, I'll give him credit for that. But the quarterback position for Auburn, I guess for me, Thorne is just not a good fit for what they're doing.
So let's reevaluate Auburn at 2-2. And again, for me, it's very, I don't think Auburn is as bad as they looked yesterday. I really don't. It's 14 turnovers through 4 games. They host Oklahoma, at Georgia, at Missouri doesn't seem quite as daunting, at Kentucky, host Vanderbilt, host La Monroe, host Texas A&M, and then at Alabama. I mean, that's still not a very easy schedule by any means.
It's not. And the thing about it is, unlike what I saw yesterday in the night game in Norman, I think Oklahoma has a very, very, very good defense.
Yeah.
Now,
I do too.
Auburn's is good.
Nico is just another level kind of quarterback. He was throwing NFL throws.
He made a few NFL throws. Didn't do a whole lot second half. I mean, Oklahoma shut Tennessee down pretty well.
Yeah.
But OU defensively impressed me. Now, I'll freely admit I didn't watch a ton of the second half because I just felt like
game over.
As soon as I was just completely unimpressed with the quarterback play at Oklahoma. I was like, I mean, I texted my best Oklahoma guy, who's given me so much great info over the years. He thought that Venables was going to get fired after this year because he's like, this is a 6-6 team. But I was like, y'all traded QB1 for that. I mean, you ran your QB.
Yeah.
That's now at Oregon out the door
for
this Jackson Arnold, and that's what you get. I was like, that he does not look like he's ready to me. Like,
how good do you think Tennessee is?
Defensively, they looked really good, but of course, some of that may have been the quarterback play. They couldn't threaten them from, because by the time when they went to the backup to start the second half, and I watched the first series, I was like, I mean, Oklahoma doesn't have a chance.
Yeah.
But, unless Tennessee turns the ball over. And the funny thing is,
there was multiple turnovers.
Tennessee turned it over twice. And then on the first play, Jackson Arnold fumbles one, and then he throws what looked like a forward pass to me, but they called it a backward pass. And, the
wasn't enough video evidence.
And then they didn't, and I thought Basilio was in the booth. But, I mean, I mean.
By the way, I did text Tony or Tone. And I said, you're in bed by 4 a.m. Easy.
Yeah.
And he did text me this morning saying, you were correct.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. But I thought that was pathetic. I mean, you turn the ball over. Your defense creates 2 turnovers. They do their job. And your quarterback play is so bad that you turn around and give it right back to them. I mean,
twice.
And their offensive line is not good. It's probably, my guy, Demetric Warren on X, he's an OU fan and a very connected guy in Mississippi. As soon as they turned it over the second time, he was like, I'm not watching this anymore. He's like, this is the worst offensive line I've ever seen at OU. But I was a little surprised they didn't give Jackson Arnold another chance. I was like, in the second half, I was like, because to me, it was obvious that the young kid was not ready and that the true freshman, Hawkins from Dallas, that he was not ready to go. And he couldn't throw the football effectively. Now, he's a good runner, and he can move around. And then OU played – I will give this. OU did not give up. They played hard the entire game. That was obvious because they made a run at it in the fourth quarter. And, again, when the majority of the game that I watched, I was very impressed with their defensive line. I even said, hey, my man, text Brent Venables and tell them that we'll trade Todd Bates for Freddie Roach. And have another Bama guy come home.
You're still going on that hill, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to die on it.
Yeah.
Until Freddie shows me if they play well against Georgia, because they're fixing to get their oil check.
Well, we'll dive into a little bit of another Alabama-Georgia game coming up here momentarily. But Nico, 13 of 21, 194 yards, a touchdown, no picks. Dylan Sampson ran the ball very hard, 24 carries. 92 yards. Really impressed with him.
He's a hard runner, but think about that. He didn't get 100, and he came in with like 9 touchdowns. The OU front and their linebackers, and they even had an injury, but they really played hard. And it goes back to what Brandon Drum of OU Insider told us this week. he said it was the most talented team probably since 18 for OU, and that they had the athletes defensively. And I saw them. I mean, I thought they competed really hard. Tennessee, because trust me, we know how Heupel's wired. I know it's his alma mater, but he would have run up the score if he could have.
Yeah.
I mean, they were when it was 19-3, I thought it was going to end up being like 33-3.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma wasn't having it. They shut down a lot of that offense for Tennessee. And so I think Tennessee's really good, though. I've got them definitely far and away. Right now, Steve, there is a ton of separation. There's the top 5 in the SEC, and then there's 11 tomato cans, is what it looks like to me, where I just don't think they're even college football playoff contenders now. Everything's starting to separate. And, I mean, look at A&M, 26-20 over Bowling Green.
Well, did you watch the Bowling Green Penn State game? I think
I know, because they've got the Basilak, and they played Penn State tough.
Yeah, I think they're a better than average.
But if you're a college football playoff team, you got to beat Bowling Green by 3 touchdowns.
Especially at home.
I mean, I just don't think they are. Like I said, man, my man Brenton Zvorneman, I love him. He texts me at like 11:40. I'm trying to finish it up. He's like, just checking in, trying to see, what my rankings are going to be.
Well,
and I'll give them to you right now.
All right.
Number 1, Texas. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Georgia. 2 of them didn't play, so there was not going to be any movement. Number 4, Lane Kiffin.
Yep.
Number 5, Tennessee. And then this is where the manure starts. Number 6, Missouri. Have to. They won the damn game.
Yeah, they did.
Number 7, LSU. Number 8, Oklahoma. Number 9, Texas A&M. Number 10, South Carolina. Number 11, Kentucky. Number 12, Arkansas. Number 13, Vanderbilt. Number 14, Auburn. Number 15, Florida. And number 16, Mississippi State. That's what you got to do. And now State doesn't even have a starting quarterback for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're only about to play Georgia.
They're at Texas this week.
I know. And then Texas.
Enjoy that.
But then after that, it's a bye in Georgia, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's going to be brutal. And I started looking at the stands like early second quarter. How many people were there? How many people were there? I knew. I was like, this is not good.
Really contemplated getting a credential for that game just to take pictures of the stands.
Oh, man.
But in my mind, I was like, I got high school football. It's an early kick.
You would have gotten a lot of ice cream, probably.
Yeah, I need ice cream. Don't we all?
I mean,
I can go to New Hope for that.
Yeah, you can. You can go to Dots. I hope Jimmy Lay did. That was awesome. That cherry shake with real bits of cherry. Good Lord.
By the way, I appreciate the fine folks at Lawlers BBQ for being the presenting sponsor here on the Bama Recap Show.
Brandon certainly appreciates it.
Yes. Josh Heupel, post-game. Here is a little bit.
This game was never about me coming back here. Not for this football team. And I say all that. They also understood that this one was a little bit different for me personally.
Dumping.
But that's not what it was about.
Not what it was about, but he just said it was.
Their recognition.
He's a peckerhead.
And wanting that for me.
Yeah, Josh, I know you didn't want this to be about yourself, but
I just said it was. But
apart from the football, what was your favorite part about the trip? These 30 hours or ever how long you've been?
Walking off that field with the wind felt pretty good.
They were thumping there in the hey.
Like I said, they look like a good football team. Great football team. Not saying that yet, but good football team. Yes, they did.
We have hashed out a little bit of Missouri and Vanderbilt, the double overtime win over the Commodores, 30-27. Tennessee, obviously a winner, 25-15 over Oklahoma. I did not watch any of the South Carolina-Akron game.
I can admit I did not see any of that one. I know they were up
50-7 was the final.
They were up 15-7, I think, the last time I saw. Obviously, they finished the game very strong. Robbie Ashford started. That was they talked about that because of the injury to Lenore Sellers.
Now, I did watch the first quarter of the Texas La Monroe game.
Yeah.
And pressure got to Arch.
Yeah.
But he did settle down. But that pocket pressure did throw it. He threw a couple of picks. So, but Texas still a very strong football team as they welcome in another formidable foe in Mississippi State this week. I can only imagine. Is that line going to be off the board?
Probably.
An off the board line?
And
an SEC off the board line?
They'll probably rest Quinn Ewers another week.
Might
and
as
play
well.
Arch.
Might as well.
Let him get his feet wet against the worst defense in the history of college football. I mean.
Then there's LSU, UCLA.
Well.
Watched quite a bit of that.
Yeah, that for a half, it didn't look great.
3 quarters.
Yeah.
I mean, that I was a little bit more impressed with UCLA, but if anything, it reaffirmed the question marks that I have for LSU.
Well,
and
I had a well-known Louisiana media person text me, and he said, Jaden Daniels, he had a lot of water buckets on him last year. He goes, Nussmeier got the same thing, a lot of water buckets. I'm not impressed with his defense.
Nussmeier was 32 of 44.
Yeah.
44 pass attempts for Garrett Nussmeier. Josh Williams ran the ball 13 times for 62 yards and a touchdown as well. But I am just not overly impressed with LSU defensively. Offensively, Mason Taylor, he's fantastic.
Well,
he is that is the guy that you need to get more touches to, although I think he had 8 catches yesterday. So it just Mason Taylor is kind of the center of that offense, in my opinion. But I don't know how good where did you have LSU?
I had Steve, that was part of my problem. I was sitting there trying to rank the teams, and I
might pick LSU over Missouri right now.
I couldn't do that. I gave it a little bit of thought, but I'll be honest, I just couldn't do it just because Mizzou's undefeated.
No, I mean head to head. I mean if they're playing head to head.
But I did put LSU 7th right behind them.
Okay.
Just simply because I was not impressed with Oklahoma offensively yesterday.
Yeah.
Even though that defense could definitely punch with LSU.
Yeah.
And then Texas A&M, Bowling Green, it just seemed like ho-hum.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't play good enough, in my opinion. And so I had A&M at 9, South Carolina at 10. And I had to put South Carolina ahead of Kentucky because they beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like a drum in Lexington.
Oh, Kentucky this week?
Yeah. And so.
Kentucky this week at Ole Miss.
I know. And then.
Enjoy that.
And then the
Jeff from the borough.
The rest of them, Arkansas is 12, but they beat Auburn. But I haven't been overly that impressed with Arkansas because they did not look good against UAB. And I watched a lot of that Auburn game. Arkansas, it was an ugly win, but they won the game.
Yeah.
And so that's what you had to do. So I just, and then, like I said, Vanderbilt, they're usually the worst team in the league, but they almost beat Missouri.
Yeah.
They were within a play of beating Georgia State. So I've still got them in the lower half of the league.
By the way, Virginia Tech lost to Rutgers yesterday.
Yeah, they did. But I can't put Auburn, Florida, and Mississippi State ahead of Vandy right now, just because I think they've all played so poorly. And, like we've been harping on, Auburn's turnovers are they're a backbreaker. Auburn can't stop turning the ball over.
Yeah.
And until they do, they're not going to beat a team of quality. And so that's going to be fascinating with Oklahoma coming to town because Oklahoma's got a really good defense.
They do.
But what kind of quarterback play are they going to get? What kind of quarterback play is Auburn going to get? Hugh Freeze said after the game, I watched this press conference. At least he spoke for, more than 5 minutes this time.
He does. He did.
He basically said he does not know who the quarterback is going to be for Auburn next week. I would think it would be Peyton Thorne.
Oh, I didn't think there was a question about it. I don't think it is. I don't think it is a question.
And I'm like you. I watched the replay of the interception.
Yeah.
I thought it went through the receiver's hand.
Yeah.
I just thought the receiver didn't do his job.
I mean, it's kind of that old. If you want to go back and watch old Bill Walsh films where he's saying, I don't want here, I want here.
Yeah.
It's the 6 inches. I mean, Cam did have to extend, but it hit his hands.
He's supposed to be wide receiver 1 and a 5-star. Okay. I'm sorry. For what you're being paid, dude, do your job and stop grabbing your shoulder. Okay. I mean, to me, you got to be better. And I'm sorry. I didn't think that was really on Thorne. I thought, okay.
I didn't think so either.
Now, he made a couple bad throws, but I thought that interception, particularly there, Hank Brown's were bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought
He looked a little more deer in the headlights to me.
Yeah, because in his first SEC
maybe a
game,
little too.
this ain't New Mexico.
No,
okay?
a little too big, a little too quick.
Guys aren't going to be running wide open.
Yeah.
And I just thought now, but I will say his first interception was the one kind of ricocheted off, some hands as well. That wasn't totally his fault. But the other two were horrendous interceptions.
So what did Bo Wallace tweet here?
Yeah.
We're approaching the point that he's thrown too many QBs under the bus. No one wants to play for him. His offense helped me tremendously put up numbers, but when I blew my shoulder out, this is Bo Wallace tweeting. It's somebody else's fault. Wow. Use the word I. Okay. All right. Auburn staffers calling my phone. Incoming. Wow. This goes on for a minute here.
Said he wouldn't let his son play for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he just went on to say that he said Hugh Freeze has never helped me a day in his life. He's like, he said, and I sacrificed my body for him. He said, I got shot up before every game because, again, his shoulder was, messed up. But he just said that he throws his quarterbacks under the bus all the time.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I just thought it was eye-opening. Usually you don't see a guy go on the record like that. It's maybe something said in private, but he just –
it's a long tweet as well. It's very thought out, detailed.
And then he even said, I've got a story, that I'm not going to detail right now for at the right time that, people wouldn't believe. And so – but again, like I said, when you're losing, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And he was very complimentary of Hugh last year when they lost to New Mexico State. He was like, the fans need to be patient and things of that nature. Then he admitted because of course he took a lot of heat from the Auburn fans. He was like, and they were bringing back tweets where he had praised Hugh Freeze, and his words were, you've never been fake. And so I think that was also kind of throwing that back at Hugh as well. So I don't know. But again, it's just one of those things. The quarterback play has not been good. And the reason I say you blame Hugh Freeze for it, and you have to tell the truth, is because he brought in 3 of the 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played Garner very much. I don't think he's going to give him a shot all of a sudden because it was supposedly a 3-way battle in camp with Walker White needing a red shirt.
Yeah.
And he just basically said he decided that Peyton Thorne won the job, but then he decided once Thorne had his terrible game against Cal, it was time for Hank Brown, but then Hank wasn't ready for the SEC. So, and then I definitely don't think you do a Spurrier and rotate guys.
Yeah.
You just got to go with someone who you think can, and I know you've had Jesse Simonton on of On 3, and his tweet was eye-opening. He was just like, look, Hugh Freeze decided he wanted to go with Hank Brown, but he's less mobile with an arm that's not as strong. He goes, this is a mess. He goes, Hugh Freeze has created a mess on this team. So to me, though, you have to use Peyton Thorne's mobility, and you have a good running back in Jarquez Hunter.
You do.
I think you got to go back to Peyton Thorne and just roll with it.
I don't see a quarterback controversy at Auburn. I don't.
I mean, because you gave Hank Brown his shot.
Yeah, you did.
In an SEC game, he went 7-13 for 72 yards with 3 interceptions. And 2 of them were egregious.
So, Auburn fan, I know it's probably a difficult morning, but keep in mind 14 turnovers. 14 turnovers through 4 games.
I mean, they're not a college football playoff team. It's just going to be, can you salvage it and try to get to a bowl game? That game against OU is going to be interesting just simply because uncertainty for both teams.
Well, to go under 500 in this 5-game home stretch out of the gate,
I don't
think anybody was thinking that,
because they're not home the entire month of October.
Because the worst I heard was 3-2.
Yeah,
that 3-2 would be the worst possible scenario. Well, that's a win over Oklahoma now.
Yeah, I mean, and that OU defense, I mean, it looked really, really, really good to me. So.
Okay, all right, it's time for a timeout. Time to dive into a little bit of preview rather than recap. We've got another game of the century of the week coming up on Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Alabama, Georgia. We'll break it down next.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com.
Here in North Alabama, barbecue is a part of what makes our home so special, and great barbecue from Lawlers makes it just that much better. Since 1978, Lawlers has been serving up their delicious barbecued pork, ribs, chicken, ham, and turkey for generations of family get-togethers. Recognized as the best barbecue joint in Alabama for 2 years in a row, Lawlers is thrilled to share their award-winning barbecue for your next family meal or catered event. Order online or stop by any one of their 14 area locations. Lawlers Barbecue, cooked slow, served fast.
It's fall, y'all, and at Woody Anderson Ford, we're ready for it. Football, hunting, hiking, we've got the rides to take you there. Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and we've got over 140 F-150s for you to choose from. XLTs, Lariats, all the way up to the Platinum. And right now, you can get $4,750 total cash back on the 2024 F-150 at Woody Anderson Ford. Here in Huntsville, you see more than every day, and there's a good reason. They're the perfect size, do-it-all SUV for lots of folks. I'm talking about our Bronco Sport. From hauling kids and groceries to the spur-of-the-moment camping weekend, the Bronco Sport delivers. Choose from over 80 Bronco Sports starting at just $299 a month. That's a 36-month lease with $34.56 due at signing, 0 security deposit, just tax tag title, and your good credit. This offer ends 9/30/24. Call 539-9441 for complete details. Come see us today and make it a Woody Anderson Ford. Hope to see you soon.
Week 5 of our high school streaming network is upon us. Coming up on Thursday, Sparkman will be at Mae Jemison. That'll be on Zone 4. Also on Thursday, Westminster Christian Academy takes on Hatton. That is on Zone 5. Friday night, over the airwaves of 97.7 ESPN The Zone and on Zone 2, features Madison Academy at Arab. Zone 3 is the Randolph Raiders taking on Pisgah.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience, bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
It is the Bama Recap Show presented by Lawlers Barbecue. Drew DeArmond, Steve Moulton here with you. Got a big one coming up. Alabama, Georgia. And at least it is alleged that the line is going to slightly favor the Dogs in this matchup. We'll see. Alabama hasn't been an underdog at home since 2007 against LSU.
And they led it for a while, and we all know what happened.
Yes, we do. But nonetheless, coming up, Georgia and Alabama. Health-wise, where do you think Malachi stands heading into this one? That's an important piece.
Well, I think he'll be back. I haven't heard anything to tell me what. He had a concussion.
What are your biggest concerns in this matchup?
Line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Especially the defensive line. You're going to get your oil checked. I mean, because Georgia's going to try to run right at you. And you've got to be ready. You got to play with intensity, and you got to get off blocks, and you got to stop ETN. I mean, and then you got to get after Beck, because if Beck can stand back there and dissect, he can process, he can get the ball to the playmakers. So, and then the offensive line, Alabama's offensive line looked good against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But you're going to have a different breed with Michael Williams back and, those defensive linemen, Stackhouse and those guys for Georgia. I mean, they're good. And so they're going to come at you hard. They're going to play better than they did against Kentucky. So it's still going to be a line of scrimmage game. And you got to give Milroe time to operate. And I think Glenn Schumann and Kirby, last year, they didn't really blitz Milroe. Mm-hmm. They kind of just wanted him to stand back in the pocket and throw, but then he also used his legs. I wouldn't be surprised if they've watched the South Florida film and they're going to start sending guys.
Yeah.
Even though Alabama's going to have a different looking offensive line, they're still going to test Proctor. They'll test Pritchett for their attention to detail, and they're going to send people. And see if, that if Milroe can read coverages well enough and can get rid of the football. And they certainly don't want him to take off and use his legs. Now, on broken plays, he could, but again, it's going to be a chess match, and it's going to by far. I mean, Georgia has not given up a touchdown all year.
Yeah.
Okay, we saw what Clemson did to NC State's JV.
Yeah,
I mean, they scored 59.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
I think Alabama's got a much better offense than Clemson, but still, Georgia's very, very, very formidable defensively. And so you're going to find out where you stand because Alabama's 3-0. They've done a nice job, but I think their offense is getting better, and I think they have weapons that can hurt Georgia. But again, if your offensive line can't hold up to Georgia's DL, that's going to be an issue. So it's going to be how the line of scrimmage on the offensive and defensive lines, performed for me. I mean, it's very simple. It's still, because if Georgia wins the battles up front, they'll eventually get their running game going. They've got a senior quarterback who's been on the road, played in big games, and certainly they know how big this game is for perception.
Yeah,
and so they're going to be super fired up. Alabama should be fired up. It's going to be a great game.
Carson Beck or Jalen Milroe. I think for me, Jalen Milroe has shown me more than Carson Beck has. To me, if you're telling me to pick one quarterback out of those two, I would go Jalen Milroe ahead of Carson Beck right now. And I'm talking collegiately, not the NFL draft and what the NFL is looking at, but I mean collegiately. I think Jalen Milroe has improved quite a bit, and we talked about it earlier this past week with Rick Neuheisel. The coaching staff matters. And I think you've seen this elevation with this new coaching staff in a big way. And Jalen Milroe has done he is just making all the right reads, in my opinion.
Well, and I'll give Mike Detillier a lot of credit. I mean, he told me in Dallas, because he had been to the Manning camp and seen Milroe, and he said Milroe's mechanics and the way he's throwing the football is completely different. He goes, he said this coaching staff with DeBoer and those guys and Nick Sheridan, they've had an impact on him. And he said Bill Belichick was very impressed with it. A lot of people there were very impressed with how he looked. And he's already a great athlete. So he's 6'2", 230 pounds. He can run a 4.4. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he attacks Georgia and how they attack him, because Kentucky really didn't have the passing game to affect Georgia. They could not throw the football.
The deep threat is very real.
And Clemson did a little bit for the first half.
They tried early,
but they got penalties, and then it was not, they were their own worst enemy in a way.
Second half they were drowning.
Alabama has to do what they did, against Wisconsin. They got to keep the penalties to a minimum, the procedural stuff, holdings, and then they can't shoot themselves in the foot, and then they have to execute. I mean, to me, that's what you have to do. You can't turn the ball over against Georgia because, again, they may not have Brock Bowers. They may not have, Jack Saint.
Mm-hmm.
They may not have McConkey, but they've still got good players.
Arian Smith is someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he has speed to make big plays, no doubt about it. I mean, I think Oscar Delp's a good tight end, so he's not Bowers. But again, you have to do your job. And then this Alabama defense, at times they've looked vulnerable against the run. They've got to be in the right places. Their run fits have to be good. They have to stop Georgia. And then they've got to get after and affect Carson Beck. They've got to pressure him because he does have better mobility than you would think, but still he's a guy that you can pressure and make him, hurry throws. And again, they have to play as hard as I saw Oklahoma play last night, because even with Oklahoma's offensive struggles, I thought their defense stayed zeroed in and they played hard. I mean,
I agree.
Nico made a few good throws, but he was 13-21 and he did turn it over twice. So Alabama's got to win the plus-minus as far as the turnover battle. They've got to keep their penalties to probably 5 or less, so it doesn't affect drives big time. And then Milroe has to be as good as he was a year ago, where he did outplay. I thought Beck did some good things, but he basically outplayed him.
He did.
And Alabama won the game. And so if he does that, then he'll be near the top of the Heisman.
And that was last year with Tommy Rees, not this year with Kalen DeBoer. And I'm sorry, DeBoer.
But DeBoer. But
I'm sorry, I can't help
yeah,
it.
but the thing,
I really can't.
But the thing is that Alabama's got Ryan Williams. I don't think Georgia definitely wanted him. They don't have Ryan Williams, a magical guy. I like Jeremy Bernard a lot. I think he brings a lot of toughness to the position. Law, Prentice. Alabama has the ability to win some matchups, in this game. And again, we haven't seen Alabama's entirety on offense. I'm going to be interesting to see how Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer attack this Georgia defense with shifts, motions, how they think they can move it. Because certainly I think Georgia's going to – I'll be shocked if Georgia has the same kind of plan, just trying to win up front with their D-line and not sending guys
I don't think they have
Milroe.
enough depth to do that.
I mean, I would think they're going to try to get in Milroe's face and affect him and make him – because it's always hard when you move a quarterback off his spot for him to make throws. I mean, it's if you make him uncomfortable. Now, I hope Alabama can counter by moving the pocket some if Georgia starts getting pressure. Try to, use Milroe's legs as well. But also, again, if you move the pocket, get him outside a little bit, keep his head up. And then, of course, you're going to if you're a wide receiver, especially if Georgia's playing zone, you got to find the holes in the zone, and then Milroe has to recognize it and deliver the ball on time and accurately. Because the one thing people keep saying is the short intermediate passing game. Hadn't seen a lot of it, or Milroe is missing guys that are open, but he's thrown the deep ball well as he always has. And again, we'll see. I mean, certainly, I think Georgia and last year. The short intermediate passing game, people kind of forget, was pretty good against Georgia. They did wheel routes and things of that nature that really hurt Georgia. And, Jam Miller had a touchdown like that. And then I thought Alabama ran the football, especially in the first half, really well between the tackles. Now, I don't know if they'll be able to do that so much this time. We'll see. But I think they can also attack the perimeter a little bit against Georgia defensively. It's going to be a great chess match between, a coaching staff in Georgia, especially defensively, it's been together a long time, at least with Schumann and Kirby. And then, how does Kane Womack attack Georgia? And then this offensive staff with Kalen DeBoer, Nick Sheridan, Jamarcus Shepard, how do they attack the Dogs, who are going to be the best defense they've seen? But I do like the edge that Alabama plays with. I think they block really well on the perimeter. They play hard and they compete. And that's what you have to do because, Georgia's trying to be the biggest bully on the block. And I'm not taking a shot at them saying that.
Yeah.
They want to be the most physical team. Well, if you're Alabama, you have to match their physicality.
Well, one guy that was out of the transfer portal, it's been a huge pickup is Sab.
He's got great ball skills. His tackling was a little dicey against Wisconsin. But he does do a great job back there with pass defense, and I think he's better against the pass than than Caleb Downs.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Downs is good against the run, but he has some issues against the pass, and so I think Sab has been a really good addition. Now, you mentioned it before, they need Malachi back without a doubt because he's an old man.
Well, that's why I started there because that's an important puzzle piece.
I think he'll be back. Now, Quay Russaw, I'd be surprised.
Really?
Since it's a knee and an ankle, I don't know that he'll be able to go. But Alabama does have some depth. They got Q Robinson, who's been around forever. They got Keanu Coot. Coot needs to be a little better. They played Yonze Pierre too. If they had to, even though he's played so well in the middle so far, if they wanted to shift guys around, they'll have Justin Jefferson back. They could move, Jihad outside some, I think, because he's a good enough athlete to where I think he could, play outside and still be effective and help Alabama defensively against.
Is there a score area that helps Bama more, the 20s, the 30s, or does that matter, you think?
Well, I just think if you're Georgia, if you're going to win the game, you've got to limit Alabama's explosive plays.
Yeah.
The one thing that's going to be different is Jam did play quite a bit in the game and scored last year, but now they've got Justice Haynes on the field a little bit more. Alabama's got a little bit more explosiveness in the backfield. And Ryan Williams is more explosive than even, Jermaine Burton. And Burton was good, but Ryan Williams he just does different things. He can do different things. And then, Kendrick Law hasn't been as involved in this, but we saw the tight ends, Josh Cuevas, he had a big play in the game. I do like Alabama's offense more than Georgia's right now.
I do too. Yeah.
I think Alabama is,
and I'd actually lean a little bit more towards Bama's defense than what I've seen out of Georgia defensively. Starks is by far the biggest piece defensively for Georgia.
I wouldn't go there yet. I think Alabama's going to have to prove it to me. I mean, I think they've been good and solid.
What haven't you seen out of the Georgia defense?
I just think you're judged by how many points you give up. And Georgia has not given up many points at all. They have shut teams down. They may have been a little bit, but it doesn't matter. They get after you. Jalen Walker's been really good. Off the edge, he's a really good pass rusher.
Yeah.
That impressed me. And so Alabama, and this will only be the second game for this offensive line that's been together. And this ain't Wisconsin. I mean, Wisconsin's a good, solid team, but it's not Georgia. So you're going to have to block these guys. You're going to have to. And again, I will just be shocked if they don't blitz more. And I know sometimes Kirby's, he doesn't like to blitz a ton. He likes to win one-on-one matchups.
Yeah. Oh.
But I just think when football is a copycat game, and when you see what Tony Orlando did, for South Florida, sending guys all the time, and Alabama had a bit, their offensive line was banged up. It was a different lineup.
Yeah.
But I still think at times you're going to try to push the issue and see if you can affect Milroe with pressure. But maybe we'll see how much Milroe has truly progressed in this game, because if you get some different looks from Georgia, how does your coaching staff adjust, and how do you adjust? Because if you blitz, you can live it and die by it. Because Alabama, that could open up some big plays for Alabama if Milroe makes the right read, if he reads blitz, maybe breaks a big run up the middle, or if they attack the middle of the field and see a Jeremy Bernard, a Ryan Williams, or a Kobe Prentice with a one-on-one matchup that they can win.
I like Kobe Prentice a lot in this matchup. I think it's guys like that are going to have difference-making types of plays. I think Bama's going to win this game, but I think it's going to be a very good game. I think it's going to be another classic, and of course, plan accordingly, because game day, of course, is in Tuscaloosa this weekend.
And Donald Trump.
And so is Donald Trump. So just plan
Leave
accordingly.
early.
Yeah, just plan accordingly. It's I know. Are you heading down to Tuscaloosa?
Oh, I'm working on it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll probably still be in the middle of a nap this time next week with another late game down there in Tuscaloosa. But, I don't mind. I don't mind covering another Georgia-Alabama game. Should be a lot of fun and a great atmosphere down in Tuscaloosa. That is going to wrap us up here on the Bama Recap Show, presented by Lawlers BBQ. We will talk to you tomorrow.
WCCN Union Grove, Huntsville, the Tennessee Valley's home of ESPN Radio, is 97.7 The Zone.
Kevin, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The windows to our left are open here inside the stadium. 64 degrees, sunshiny outside. Some artificial snow was falling in the pregame, and there's a lot of